What studies find over and over again is the more you reward students for doing something, the more they tend to lose interest in whatever they had to do to get the reward. No wonder the research finds consistently that students trying to get A's tend to be less interested in learning as a result of that fact. It's not just a curiosity about grades per se. It's part of a larger phenomenon of failing to understand motivation. Are there some kids who are motivated by grades? Oh yes, and more's the pity. That's not a learning style to be accommodated. That's a problem to be solved. Because the more students are focused, for whatever reason, usually because of the way they've been socialized by schools and parents, the more they're motivated to get good grades, the more the depth of their thinking, the preference for challenge, and the interest in learning tend to suffer.
For this book, I went back and looked at about 50 years of research in behavioral science, 50 years of studies, laboratory experiments and field studies about what really motivates people at work. And what this research says turns a lot of conventional wisdom on its head. And in short, what it says is this: for simple, straightforward, routine, algorithmic kind of work, turning the same screw on an assembly line or adding up columns of figures, the classic kind of motivator we use in organizations, these if-then motivators, if you do this, then you get that, they're good. They work pretty well for the simple, algorithmic, mechanical kind of work. But what the science also shows us is that for more complicated work, for more conceptual work, for work requiring innovation and creativity and solving non-obvious problems, those kinds of motivators, those if-then motivators, just don't work very well. And so what we have is a set of our mainstay motivators are great for 19th century work, pretty good for 20th century work, but they're just not good anymore in the 21st century. And we need to come up with a new set of motivational mechanisms. And again, the science yields some possibilities. It's providing autonomy, giving people control over what they do, how they do it, when they do it, who they do it with, providing a sense of mastery, that is the innate desire to get better at something that matters, and plugging people into a purpose so they know how what they do each day contributes to a larger whole. And there are many companies around the world, from an Australian software company called Atlassian to an Argentine software company called Globant to American shoe company called Zappos to the American software firm Intuit, to a whole array of companies that are practicing a very different approach to motivating people, by giving people a lot more control, by helping them make progress, and by having a purposeful workplace. They're paying people enough, but they're using money, they're trying to get money off the table rather than make money the most important thing in the world, because human beings deep down want to contribute, want to have control over their lives, want to do something that matters. And I think that more and more we're seeing that companies that go with the grain of human nature rather than against it are the ones that are doing the best.
Listen up. Come to the center of the room, please. This is a Schrutbuck. When you have done something good, you will receive 1 Schrutbuck. $1,000 Schrutbucks equals an extra 5 minutes for lunch.
What is the cash value of a Schrutbuck?
Excellent question, Pam. 1/100th of a cent.
So 10,000 of your dollars is worth 1 real dollar?
Just zip your lid. Good. Now let us discuss precipitation. Stanley, when rainfall occurs, does it usually fall in a liquid, solid, or gaseous state?
Liquid.
Very good. You have earned 1 Schrutbuck.
I don't want it.
Then you have been deducted 50 shrewd bucks.
Make it 100.
Don't you want to earn shrewd bucks?
No, in fact, I'll give you 1 billion Stanley Nickels if you never talk to me again.
What's the ratio of Stanley Nickels to shrewd bucks?
The same as the ratio of unicorns to leprechauns.
Okay.
That's it. Class is
What?
canceled.
No,
Everybody
wait,
out.
No, wait. What are you doing?
I'm punishing them.
No, class is not canceled.
Same idea. 2 studies have found that children who are frequently rewarded or praised by their parents are less generous and helpful than their peers on average. And the effect is most pronounced when they're rewarded or praised for being generous. Good sharing. I really like the way you let Patty play with your toy, too. He just became a little less likely to share when no one's around to give him a pat on the head for it. The desire to help begins to erode when kids see themselves as doing it in order to get the reward, even if it's a verbal reward.
Will you see what Alfie Kohn and Dan Pink have got to say about rewards? And you've seen the rather comical sketch from The Office. So the question is, do rewards really work? Do rewards really motivate people? Or have we got it all wrong? So I'm inviting you to think about that. Now, many people say to me when I talk about rewards, they say, but David, I enjoy being rewarded. I feel good when I'm rewarded. I like it. Now, I think we need to be careful not to mix up feeling good about something and something being effective. If you think about it, for our whole of our educational and working lives, but the whole of our lives, we have been rewarded and punished and bribed and cajoled and manipulated in all sorts of ways by our parents, by our teachers, by our bosses, by our colleagues. It's pretty endemic in our culture. It's not too surprising that maybe we feel good when we're rewarded and we feel really bad when we're not rewarded or punished in some way. So think about that. The other thing I hear people say is, well, maybe rewards are not so good, but recognition, that's okay, that's good. We're not actually giving people something tangible. Or rewards are okay as long as they're not of any huge value. We give people tokens, we give, like in school, we give people red stars or what have you. It's a bit of fun. Now, listen and think to what Alfie said about praising a child. That 2 pieces of research have shown that if you praise a child, then that child is a little bit less likely to share his or her toys when the father or mother is not there to praise them. And praise and recognition, I think, are kind of pretty close in concept. But think about that. The other thing people say is, well, in some circumstances, it's okay to reward. If you reward people, let's say at the end of a project, and there was no expectation of a reward, then that's really good. They feel good about the project. The problem is nothing is ever done in isolation. When you do that, basically you demotivate, you upset the other teams who are also hoping, expecting to get a reward. Also, when it comes to the next project, the next task, and that same team that won the reward, they don't get rewarded. Now they feel demotivated, or now there's that expectation of the reward. You've got sort of a reward or recognition culture. Now, you've seen I say what Alfie Kohn and Dan Pink have got to say. You've heard what I've got to say. I'm not saying this is black and white. I'm not saying that we should stop rewarding people or recognizing people for knowledge sharing or for things that they do. I'm raising the question, have we got this? Have we got this right? Given what the research is showing, given if we stop and think about it deeply, given if we start to question it more, have we got it right? Or have we got it utterly, totally wrong? To be honest with you, I suspect we've got it very, very wrong. But let's stop there. My question to you now is exactly that. You've seen what these people have got to say. Are they right? What's the impact on knowledge sharing? Should we be doing it? Should we be trying to motivate people with rewards and recognition? Or have we got it wrong? That's the question.
David, good morning. Reflecting back on last week's Knowledge Cafe that you ran, I thought very successfully at the Knowledge Management Conference, a couple of things struck me. Firstly, the idea of using a video was, I thought, particularly effective. The audience, to a man, commented afterwards to me that there was a different sort of dynamic created as opposed to the usual moderation. The second thing was I found it very, very easy to move around the room and to pick up the conversations that were going on. When you're at an event where PowerPoint predominates, it's always very good to have these conversation pieces. In a way, I'm wondering whether one of the things you might want to do is to start with the cafe and use it as a framing question for the day. It certainly would get people off to a slightly different tack. Anyway, well worth the effort and well done.
So Mark, you participated in my Knowledge Cafe here at KMUK yesterday afternoon. What did you make of it all?
I thought it was a good device for group discovery and a certain amount of reflection, both for individuals and in groups. Yeah, I thought it was quite a useful device.
Okay, and what did you particularly take away from the discussion item? We were discussing about how rewards and recognition, whether they were appropriate to motivate knowledge sharing behaviour.
I think because the seed question, if you like, the prompt, the stimulus, had been clearly picked and worked on beforehand because of the preparation, it worked as a prompt. And so, for example, in our case, we had a very good discussion about exactly what reward was. And I think out of the discussion came a very strong idea that for us, reward was something which was not about tangible rewards, it was about very Maslowian. It was the need to have a sense of strong personal fulfillment.
It's those intrinsic rewards.
Yeah, intrinsic rewards, self-actualization. My only concern, and this is something we spent a lot of time on, was that some organisations unconsciously or consciously would be able to throttle the degree of fulfilment or ability of the individual to make a contribution and have meaningful work. And obviously that would be a concern.
Yeah, okay. Mark, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Sure.
So Florence, you took part in the Knowledge Cafe that I ran here at KMUK yesterday afternoon. I wondered if you'd like to just share some of your thoughts on that event.
Oh, David, it was an excellent opportunity. We'd had a lot of PowerPoints, but here was an opportunity at the end of the day to really collaborate, to think, to hear a wide range of different opinions on a very particular subject that we were all interested and passionate about. It was so good to hear such a wide range of different perspectives, and in a very short amount of time. I mean, we were there, possibly not longer than it seemed to be, about half an hour. And by moving around, the conversation was dynamic, there was lots of different ideas, the ideas were being taken from one table to the next. And I learned a lot from that. I learned in a short time that people have very different views on a topic that I thought was quite a general and what I thought might just have maybe only one or two perspectives or relevant.
It's interesting because that's what I found with the cafe is you think there's maybe only one or two perspectives and you discover that everybody pretty much has got a different take on it. That's kind of the magic of it and the big insight I think that comes from the cafe. So was there something specific that you took away from the question on rewards and recognition yesterday?
Well, very much so. Coming from the non-profit sector, I was quite interested to hear a lot of views that came from the corporate sector, which I don't have a lot of access to in my day-to-day, around what is it that motivates people to share information. And a lot of the ideas that were coming out, that were being shared with us, were around rewards and recognition. That people should be rewarded, potentially financially, or rewarded in terms of recognition.
Yes.
Which was something that surprised me because I suppose in our sector we find so much reward simply from what we do.
It's intrinsic in what you do. That's the reason you're doing it,
and
isn't
we'll
it?
share this as public money that we have, and it's what we know we should do. It's values driven.
Yes, yeah. It's very different.
But there was a lot to learn from that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, Florence.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, thank you.